Lois Wells is an apology. She's been unable to come this morning, so we'll move on to Jane Hopkins, please. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor Desiel. Good morning, councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I've lived in Nickel Street in Richmond since 2004 and in Christchurch for more than 20 years, and this is my first submission to the council. Our suburb was hit hard in the earthquakes. Our roads, footpaths and drains were badly damaged. Our road is very uneven, bumpy and has constant potholes, which means that when heavy vehicles and trailers drive down at 50 kilometres per hour or more, it is very noisy. Our house shakes and we get woken up at night. We are often on a detour route when the never-ending road closures happen on surrounding streets, and we get a lot more heavy vehicles than we used to because of all the works that are going on. This is also causing further damage to our road. The footpaths are cracked, uneven and unsealed in many places. They are dangerous for young children riding bikes and scooters and the elderly. My 5-year-old son is learning to ride a bike. We tried taking his bike with training wheels around the block. It's impossible to ride on the footpath. The training wheels get stuck. It ended up in tears. I have happy hot childhood memories of riding my bike around the block where I used to live, and I am sad that my son is unable to do the same. We have open drains on the side of the roads. Since the earthquakes, the drains no longer drain, and we end up with flooding and pools of stagnant water after even just a small amount of rain. We have a big problem with mosquitoes now in summer, and having ineffective open drains is likely contributing to this. We have been very patient waiting for the anticipated repairs to our street, as we knew there were more important priorities in the first few years. We've been proactively engaging with the council via David Duffy, who spoke earlier. We've been making good progress there. We were scheduled for repairs this financial year. It got postponed to next financial year. Then out of the blue, we read a small article in the Pegasus Post saying that our street had been dropped right out of the long-term plan. Now that means potentially another 10 years of putting up with inadequate roads, footpaths and drains. It's just not good enough. We just want what's fair for us and our community. When I visit other parts of the city, I see brand new motorways, bypasses, cycleways, libraries, pools, even a marina, skate parks being built in a fraction of the time that it takes to install a small bridge over Dudley Creek on neighbouring Slater Street. I read today in the paper, $250 million budgeted for 13 new cycleways. It's frustrating, we are frustrated. 7 years, it's long enough. If you cannot adequately maintain your existing assets, why spend capital expenditure on creating new assets that you have to maintain? It just does not make sense. I urge you, please, reconsider the priorities you have proposed in your long-term plan. Please give priority to fixing damaged roads and footpaths before embarking on new capital expenditure. I have focused on my street, Nickel Street, but the whole of Richmond, it needs fixing. Our roads need fixing urgently.
Look, I think thank you very much. I mean, we know the impact that has been had on that whole area by the Dudley Creek work, and streets haven't been prioritised. Why there have been diversions and things going on in that area. So I think you've made a very strong submission. Does anyone have any questions that they want to raise? Sarah?
Thank you. And I know that the infrastructure that we live with every day has a really large impact on our lives. When you're looking at priorities for the city and some of the really large expenditure that we've got coming up, you've mentioned cycleways. I'm wondering how you feel about the stadium.
Oh, as I said in my written submission, which I hope you have all read,
yep.
I think all of those facilities, they're all nice to haves. When we have fixed our existing assets and when we have adequate roading and adequate infrastructure, then let's look at the stadium, the performing arts precinct. I mean, even the library, which is currently under construction now, the temporary library facilities were adequate while we get our roads fixed and our infrastructure fixed, and then let's look at investing in grandiose projects. Stadium's not necessary, no, let's postpone that.
And the other thing you've mentioned is the waters.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, sorry. And when it comes to roading and waters infrastructure, wastewater, those kind of things, where do the priorities sit there?
They're both important, yeah. They're both more important than a stadium, than 13 new cycleways, brand new cycleways, roading and infrastructure, water, very important.
That's great. Thank you very much for your submission this morning.